Hi, my name is Kirk Hamilton, your host of the Staying Healthy Today show. This is a show where we bring you key experts in the fields of nutrition, prevention, integrative, and lifestyle medicine for the individual, society, and the whole. And I like to do interviews with experts in certain fields. And today's topic is adverse events following the COVID messenger RNA vaccine. Are they due to multisystem endothelial inflammation? What role does a spike protein play? And what are some potential treatments? Our guest today is Dr. János Szebeni. He's an MD, PhD, Doctor of Science from the Nanomedicine Research and Educational Center, Institute of Translational Medicine, Semmelweis University in Budapest, Hungary. And he and a colleague wrote an article entitled Multisystem Endothelial Inflammation, a key driver of adverse events following mRNA-containing COVID-19 vaccines in the journal Vaccine in 2025. So welcome, Dr. Szebeni. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure and honor.
So can you give me a little bit about your educational background and where you are right now, your current position? Because I know you're in different universities around the world.
Okay, well, as you said, I am an MD, PhD in nanotechnology and immunology. I'm a professor at Semmelweis University in Budapest, Hungary, and I'm a director of the Nanomedicine Research and Education Center at the Institute of Translational Medicine at Semmelweis University.
What got you interested in this topic of, endothelial inflammation as a cause of, well, actually, you call it, post-vaccine syndrome. So maybe you can explain to me what you think post-vaccine syndrome is and when you became aware of it.
Okay, post-vaccine syndrome is a set of acute or long-lasting symptoms occurring after the injection of COVID vaccines, in particular, or mostly mRNA vaccines. And the symptoms are mainly inflammatory and or autoimmune, and the symptoms can involve the whole body. So actually, all organ systems can be afflicted by PVS. And the reason I became interested in these topics is that I've been working on this field for more than 40 years on drug delivery, liposome research, and these vaccines are liposomes, or the LNP, the lipid nanoparticle, is a modified liposome. So when the problems arose, the reactions were first reported when the vaccines were launched. It was familiar for me to see these side effects because we see them also with other liposomes. So for me, the problem was a professional and intriguing scientific problem, and I was not interested or involved at all in other aspects of this problem.
So when you say liposomes, you're talking about the delivery system of lipid nanoparticles. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so why don't you tell me what was the goal of packaging the messenger RNA material in lipid nanoparticles in the first place? Why would you do that?
It's a more efficient way to induce immunity against the virus than other customary or marketed vaccines. And it was a very promising new technology. And there was this urgent need for developing a vaccine against COVID. The Operation Warp Speed planned to create a vaccine relatively shortly, within 8 months or 10 months in 2020. So that was the most convenient, most available way to create an efficient vaccine. And in fact, there were clinical trials which showed high efficacy against the virus. The antibody levels were sufficiently effective, even higher than in natural infection. So this prompted the pharmaceutical industry, researchers, doctors to engage on this vaccine platform.
So where does the adverse events come from? Where the goal is to deliver the genetic material to make the spike protein, correct?
Yes.
That's the goal of it. So why is there reactions then if it was an acceptable?
We believe there are several reasons for the side effects, and in fact, thousands of papers deal with different side effects depending on their focus. But there is no one unifying theory except the one which on which I have been focusing for a long time. The cause which can be attributed to the lipid nanoparticle and the technology itself. So I believe the problem partly is a design problem, namely that LMPs or this technology, although very effective, have a very high risk for adverse effects other than with other vaccines. And I have identified at least 8 different causes which can be linked to different side effects theoretically. Obviously, in different people, the side effects have different reasons, but there is a collection of potential problems which might come together in certain people in different combination.
So you have a more efficient delivery system with the lipid nanoparticles.
Yes.
So you're going to get a higher load of spike protein in the cell versus a natural infection of which the spike just goes from the outside of the cell.
This is one of the contributing factor for the problems, namely that the formation of the spike protein on the ribosomes, which is the essence of this novel technology, cannot be controlled as it is controlled normally in cells. If we think into the fact that ribosomes translate mRNA coming from the nucleus, the only other opportunity or other occasion when ribosomes translate viral mRNA when the cell is infected with the virus. When this is how mRNA viruses work, they inject their mRNA, their information into cells, and the cells' own ribosomes translate the proteins for the virus, which then buds out from these cells and lyse these cells. That is the way of pathogenicity of viruses. Now, this vaccine does the same, except it is less efficient. It represents actually a model for the virus, a simplified or dumbed down model in that the viral nucleocapsid is replaced by a lipid layer, a pegylated lipid layer, and the viral mRNA is replaced by a much shorter sequence, which codes only for one major pathogenic component of the virus, the spike protein, without all the others. The main problem is that the spike protein is toxic. Not only it's a part of the virus which triggers immunity, but it has a toxicity of its own.
So I understand that. So I mean, people died of clotting. I mean, it's a pro-inflammatory substance with regards to the vascular system. So why didn't we do it like a regular virus and have part of the nucleocapsid, like in a natural immunity to the, if I get COVID, I'm making antibodies to both the spike protein and the nucleocapsid. So why didn't we do this?
The reason, the theory behind it was very attractive. The way to produce these vaccines are much easier than with other vaccines. And there was an urgency. And again, the mRNA technology is new. It was successful in other cases. The drug called Onpatro uses this technology successfully against liver disease. So it was an apple which just had to be taken, a low-hanging apple. And at that time, there was not enough knowledge about the potential immune side effects.
So now that you get the vaccine, you have a load of messenger RNA being injected into the cell, and you're going to have more spike protein made. So from an immunologist point of view, because that's your specialty, and there's a lot of people who are concerned about increased risk to cancers, and they would say that there are increased risk to cancers. So from an immunologic point of view, what would a big load of spike protein do to an individual?
It's bad, I had to tell shortly, because it's not natural. The spike protein in the cells called antigen-presenting cells, when they accumulate in the cytoplasm, there are three different ways, three different destinies for them. One is that they get secreted to the blood. Second is that they get expressed on the cell surface. And third, that it gets processed like antigens and are presented in immune cells on cells, which induce autoimmunity. The T cell, it binds to T cells, which is supposed to kill the cell. So what we see is, fortunately, in a small fraction of people immunized. But in this unfortunately small fraction, there is significant autoimmunity, and as a novel phenomenon, the autoimmunity is against the immune system. So all over the body there is autoimmunity, but including the immune system, which completely sets up the immunity and may underlie all those different symptoms, whatever are observed in their clinics.
Do you think that I'll just be blunt about it. Do you think that the mRNA COVID vaccination with the injection of the spike protein or the creation of the spike protein within the cell increases the risk to cancer or not?
Well, this is a highly debated issue. And this new term, turbo cancer, is described by many groups and observed by many in many clinics. But officially, it's not accepted. So why I can say that in theory, the upsetment of the immune system, the potential contamination of the vaccine with pro-cancer DNA segments like the SV40 definitely increases the risk for cancer. But again, I am not a doctor. I wouldn't like to give a sentence or a judgment on it, because I myself have never seen a cancer patient.
Correct. So obviously you collaborated on this article because you thought there was a legitimate thing called post-vaccine syndrome, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And the title is, it relates to multisystem endothelial inflammation and there's spike protein involvement. You would say, I'm no one to put words in your mouth. So
yes.
If so do you know how long the spike protein gets created in the body from this load delivered by the lipid nanoparticles? Because I've heard people being tested up to 3.5 years for actually the spike protein, and they found it in vaccinated individuals. So if that's one of the triggering agents or the triggering agent, don't we want to get rid of it, and don't we want to get it out of the body and in some kind of
course
detoxification fashion, or how do we do that?
The spike protein should be only in the immune cells, the antigen presenting cells, which teach the immune system to fight against the virus. it is not supposed to be in the blood. It is in the blood because of this mistake that the protein is synthesized in the cytoplasm rather than being taken up by the traditional mechanism of phagolysosomes, which degrades the antigen, the pathogen, to short amino acids. And then these amino acids are taught to the immune system as antigens. So the natural way of immunogenicity has been deviated or altered in a way whose future at that time could not be seen.
So, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth at all. So I assume you would think it's a good thing to find some way to either neutralize the spike proteins biochemistry or get it out of the body. Do you have any ideas on how to do that?
No, not really, because once the spike protein is there, it is a very pathogenic protein. Actually, by many, it is claimed to be the most toxic protein in the body or in nature, in medicine. It has a special feature to stick to cells, to cell membranes, because of this modification. Apparently, a small part of the spike protein is made highly positively charged, which binds the protein to cell membranes like it would be a glue, very strong binding. And then all the pathogenicity, the different membrane disturbing effect lead to all these toxic effects. So it is very difficult to eliminate once it is there, but what can be done is to attenuate the symptoms or prevent the symptoms with traditional anti-inflammatory agents, whatever is used against long COVID or COVID.
So long COVID, if I'm trying to, long COVID then would be a lesser version of post-vaccine syndrome or a more milder version. Because so let me ask you this: is the spike protein that's created from the natural infection different than the spike protein that gets created through the messenger RNA? Because I'm under the assumption it is that the one that's created by the messenger RNA is more pathogenic than what comes from a natural infection.
That's true, but on the other hand, because of the presence of the virus, natural infection is much a stronger disease, much more serious disease than post-vaccine syndrome. So in the case of the post-vaccine syndrome, we don't have the virus. And the virus has a lot of other bad things than the spike protein only. The vaccine, just as the virus, causes inflammation. And so the spike protein toxicity together with the inflammation and autoimmune phenomena together combine in a disease.
So are you most concerned then with the well, let me ask you this: would you rather get a COVID infection, which is milder now, generally speaking? Okay, it's not the same animal that it was way back in 2021. Or would you take a vaccine instead? I mean, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is, would you take the vaccine now?
Not now. It's always the risk-benefit ratio which determines the use of a medicine or a vaccine. And I think at this stage, the risk is higher than the benefit in the case of mRNA vaccines. But earlier, during the height of the pandemic, of course, I was glad to get it. And everybody was happy because it was thought to prevent us from a deadly disease.
Well, right, that's a debatable issue. There's three debatable issues. One is not everybody was happy. We took it because people thought that it would help prevent the disease, which it didn't help prevent you getting the disease, and it didn't prevent transmission. And then the hot debate is,
we found out this later. At the time when it was introduced,
no,
it was believed that it is good.
No, I understand totally. I understand totally. So let's fast forward then. So we're still giving out these vaccines, and why would we do it? I don't see any advantage whatsoever if there's a concern about autoimmunity and maybe cancer risk, and then the endothelial,
the economic and political motivations are tremendous, which is very, very difficult to overcome.
So is your concern as an immunology specialist more of the concern about triggering autoimmunity, maybe cancer, maybe not? I mean, okay. Is there any other concerns as an immunologist you have besides the autoimmunity and maybe an increased risk of cancer?
If it is true that it incorporates to the DNA, which is also debated, then a toxic information becomes part of our genome, which I cannot imagine anymore potential harm to people. Certainly, fortunately, a small number of people, but some people.
Right. So, is there anything else you'd like to say on this topic? I mean, the article was multisystem endothelial inflammation, and I know your colleague, Dr. Koller, is more an expert on the vascular system. But is there anything else you would like to say on this topic? And I guess again, the bottom line is, would you recommend your family member to get a COVID vaccine now? I mean,
okay,
I'm putting you on the spot, but I mean that's the bottom line.
Straight out question. No, I wouldn't recommend it to any family members or anybody who asked me. Now, as for a general comment, I think what is missing here is their understanding of the mechanism or whatever we were talking about, how the vaccine causes the problem. People are more focused on finding culprits, finding who is to blame, although the attention should be much more on finding out the scientific reasons, and then go ahead, further develop the technology in a safer manner. I don't think that the technology is dead or is not useful in other applications. I just say that to use it as a vaccine, more research, more understanding is needed to make it safer.
All right, I understand. Okay, well, if you don't have anything else to say, I think that was great. I mean, if you have some ideas on how to treat post-vaccine syndrome, I don't know if you could share those, but
I would have a lot of ideas how to make these LNPs safer, because this is what I've been dealing for so long. But it would take another or many more interviews to go to the details.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you, the audience, for listening to this edition of the Staying Healthy Today show. And I want to thank you, Dr. Szebeni, for talking to me. And until next time, stay and be well.